right, delegates have gathered in Durban for the 5th Global Conference on the Elimination of Child Labour. This conference taking place on African soil for the first time. And remember that according to the International Labour Organization, 160 million kids are in child labour, and the clock is ticking 2025, the deadline to end child labour. SABC News' Liabo Setho is there. Liabo, what happened today?
Good evening, Francis. A lot has happened today, different side sessions and as well as high-level panels that have taken place, focusing on different issues, for instance, supply chains and the contribution to child labour, the role of education, and also some few announcements as well. I can tell you now that the European Union, during one side event, has committed 10 million euros. So that's about 168 million rands in new action targeting agriculture value chains. We remember, of course, that you find most forms of child labor in the agriculture sector, the farming areas and so forth. And one global activist has also mentioned that the world needs about $53 billion towards the eradication of child labor. This is the investment that he believes that is needed. These are the two most notable announcements that I could say, Francis, have happened today. Of course, different conversations have been happening. At some point, I was speaking to a representative of BUSA who says that, we should look into the informal businesses, for instance, where family-run businesses, because unknowingly, some businesses could take their children to come help out in the business, and that could see itself as part of a form of child labor, beg your pardon. And of course, that is measured in terms of hours and how hazardous the job is. So there's a lot of work that may need to be done, particularly in the informal business sector. But I have with me the president of the Parliament's Children, President of the Children's Parliament, Mr. Hamza Mohammed. Just note to our viewers that Mr. Mohammed is deaf, but he is using an interpreter, so you will be hearing the voice of an interpreter as we speak to him when he explains to us what exactly the Children's Parliament does and how it is involved in the eradication of child labor. Mr. Mohammed, thank you for your time. Tell us a little bit about the Children's Parliament and its role in eradicating and identifying child labor.
My name is Hamza. Surname is Mohammed. I am the president of the Children's Parliament. I'm the ambassador from the Western Cape. My answer is a lot of children are suffering. They do not know what to do. So when the families do not have money, they do not have income, so the kids think to start their own business or ways to get income. So then to assist the family, so then the kids then decide, because of frustration, then they say they start maybe to do a bit of artwork if they do have a skill in that, and then the money they show the different people that I'm doing this, and they get some form of income, and then that can be interpreted as child labor. So that money in turn is used to support the family, and then the children now they start their own businesses, and different kinds of businesses that they can think, or to sort of support their families and also to support for their own futures. So now the children feel okay, if my parents are unemployed, we don't have income, and things are very bad at home, so what do I do as myself? That is the mentality that we need to eradicate as society. But the children having their own businesses, or any other thing that is sort of beneficial to them, to sort of like support their families, to give them food and basic needs. So I would say that is okay if a child does that. So if a child is very clever and they know what to do, sort of like business-wise. If a child knows what to do, then if they have ideas like their own business, then they can grow their business to the future, and also and if they have like ideas, so when their families, maybe their parents hungry, they do not have any like source of like income, then maybe the child can go and like start their own business, like various businesses, maybe like car wash, and maybe save up a bit of money. Then they can provide food for the family.
For the families. Understood. Thank you very much. Mr. Mohammed, once again, that I have been mentioning, you've been hearing the voice of his interpreter. As you can tell that he does have a hearing impairment. And we're going to leave it here for now. What we are gathering from what Mr. Mohammed is saying is that there could be a very thin line between when children are aspirant and wanting to start their own businesses for their own recreational purposes and all development, with also having to balance them starting a business in order to support a family. Now, this is where the problem starts, Francis, when a line can never be drawn about why is the child in business or selling stuff. Is it to support the family or is it for their own development? This is the work that the Children's Parliament, some of the programs that they look at as we continue with this conference of the 5th Global Conference on the Elimination of Child Labour here in Durban. We're going to be here the whole week and we'll be monitoring what other developments come out. Francis, it's back to you in studio.
Thank you very much. That was SABC reporter Liabo Setho.